Mind the gap.
Okay, and welcome aboard commuters to this issue 11, which I'm very excited to bring you. And today we're going to be fitting the steering mechanism. So I'm going to have a quick look through the magazine after I've opened it, and then obviously we'll crack on with the build. Very nice magazine today. The look and feel of it, because I mean, your opinion may vary, but obviously we've spent the last 4 issues building wheels, so this came as a welcome change. The parts looked fiddly. Now, they look like there's not a lot of parts, but I'm beginning to think that when there's small parts, they're more technical, and the technical side excites me. So just on the look and feel of this, I'm giving it a 9. It does look quite a nice magazine. So actually opening the magazine, we have a nice article on the London Transport Hub, talking about route number 2. Some nice pictures in there, including pictures of buses. As you know, I do like my pictures of buses, and it includes sections on Griffith House, Baker Street, above the tube station. A nice little did you know, and then it moves on to obstacles for the transport system, which, as a bus driver, this is something that you're aware of. You're trained to recognize obstacles. Obviously the main thing is low bridges, and obviously different road surfaces. The object of the game for a bus driver is you always have to consider your safety and comfort of your passengers. So that's things like not going around corners too fast, taking them at a sensible speed. Obviously if you've got potholes in the road, can you avoid them? If you can't avoid them, adjust your speed. You know, all sorts of things. And this is a nice little article. I mean, I found it nice, because it's something that's quite close to home to me. And then we finish off with a very nice the works of art section, and it features a cup final from Wembley in 1935. So very nice magazine. So I'll continue to just check the pieces, and then I'll speak again when we start to build it. Okay, so we begin at part 1. Now, I did forget to mention, I've been quite generous, I feel, with my rating for the parts. There's 2 part 11As, and I have counted them as a point each. However, the 3 packs of screws still count as 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points for the parts. So we begin by taking part 11D, the push rod, and the command arm 11C, and we need to attach that with screw EM. Now, I found this very easy to do, but obviously a lesson that I've learned in recent magazines is when you pop the screw in, make sure you get that absolutely straight, push it in, twist it in a little bit, untwist it slightly, twist it, and just keep going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Now, it does stay on pretty much every part. Do not over tighten the screw, as the parts will need to move as the steering turns. So what I actually did was I tightened it up as far as it will go, and then I just pulled it back maybe about a quarter of a turn. Now, if you do look at the pictures on the parts, it will become very easy, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Part 1 should look something like this. Okay, so we need to just push that to one side, and we need to take the steering, one of the steering tie rods 11A and the push rod link 11B, and we just need to fasten that with a KM screw. Again, do not over tighten. I tightened as far as it would go, and then I just untightened it a little bit. Now, it doesn't seem to matter which way round the steering tie rods go. whether they go, you know, you can turn front back, so long as you've got two little lugs, and they must go downwards. But other than that, simple and straightforward. It's more difficult getting the position to actually tighten them in. I found that working at sort of 90-degree angles and parallel with the table worked very well for me. And there we have it. Okay, so now it's time to bring in the front axle that we've assembled in previous issues, and we need to attach the steering tie rod push rod link that we've assembled in the previous step, step 2, and we just fasten that with a KM screw. Now you will see me checking, double checking, triple checking. I personally, I found the magazine slightly difficult to look at. Have a really good look at the picture. There is a blown up picture that helps. I couldn't really comprehend at first why it was only attached with one screw, and I tried looking at the parts that were coming, you know, parts 4, 5 and 6, but it all actually comes together as we build it, so go with it with the one screw. Okay, so for part 4, I did find this slightly confusing. What you need to do is take the push rod assembly from step 1, and then you study the diagram, which I did, to see how it attaches to 11B, and then you attach that with an EM screw. Now they have circled 2 parts on the front axle and on the actual push rod link, which, no matter how many times I'm looking at that, it's suggesting to me that there should be a screw attached. It's not that you attach a screw, it's where it should be positioned, and I found that a little bit confusing, so you will see me checking and double checking over and over again. It's just because the instructions were slightly confusing, but we did get there in the end. Okay, so on to part 5, and we need the other 11A steering tie rod and 2 KM screws, and we're going to attach that to the second wheel, and then we're going to attach it to piece 11C, the command arm. A little bit tricky, mainly because I'm right-handed and now I'm working on the other side of the axle, but just take it gently and it all comes together. Okay, and finally on to part 6, the last part of this issue, and we need to connect the steering bar to the command arm. So I repeat that, the steering bar 11E to the command arm 11C, and that needs to be attached with an LM screw from the bottom. And what actually happens is, well, in my instance, the screw didn't fully tighten on 11C. I could just keep screwing and screwing and screwing, and it never really tightened, so I just kept tightening it to a point that I was satisfied. And what I also noticed was the steering still doesn't work, and the reason for that is that you can see that there's a couple of attachment points. It needs to be attached to something to make it more rigid. And the other thing that I spotted as well, which I will go through again later on, normally when they give you screws, they give you one screw too many. With regards to EM screws, I actually found that I had 3 left over. Whether that was a production error and they accidentally put too many in, I really don't know, but I've double checked the instructions, and there should be, the magazine actually says that you should have 3 screws, which I believe is 2 screws plus 1 left over. And looking through the instructions, there are one time. I thought there was 2 actually. Yeah, 2 instances when EM screws are there. So I believe that I've been given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws when in fact I should have been given 3. So I'd like to ask you the question, if you purchased this part, how many EM screws did you get? Okay, so here's the rest of the part. Okay, so here's a picture of the completed issue 11, and then I just do a comparison. I place it onto the magazine so that we can actually see it with the diagram. Okay, so on to scoring the magazine. Now I really did enjoy this magazine. Now as we said, the overall feel was a 9, and that's increased the overall feel by 0.02 from 0.88 to 8.82. 7 parts does bring the build down a little bit in the parts by 0.12, and the new score is 8.18. Now the build time was 24 minutes, which scores 8 points, and that's pretty much in the middle. That's kind of roughly the average. It's actually brought it down by 0.05 to 8.45. Now, excuse me, I am marking the instructions down by 1 because we did have that issue. Which part was it now? It was part 4. I think it was part 4. Part 4. We had 2 red circles, so I've ended up looking for a screw. Now I felt that could have been rectified simply by saying there isn't a screw there, we just need to position it. Maybe you'll disagree. However, if it had said that, it probably would have brought the build down by a few minutes. So we've lost a mark on the instructions, but if the instructions had been more clear, we probably would have lost a point on the build time. So I'll keep with that, and that's decreased the instructions time down by 0.04% to an average of 9.36. And it might be because of the way I'm doing the screws now, but I had absolutely no problems at all. So the new average for problems is 9 because this issue scores 10. So the average build quality, the whole magazine quality, I felt deserved an 86. 86%, which is a very good score. However, it is bringing the average down very slightly from 87.5 to 87.64, which is in actual fact is a very good score. Another good magazine, really enjoyed it, a very good technical build. If I was wearing a hat, I would take my hat off to Hachette. Okay, so look away now if you don't like spoilers. Issue 12 is going to be the parts for the brake mechanism, which we're then going to attach to the left rear suspension arm.